Hi, this is Michael on YouTube Guitar Tutorials on YouTube. This is part 2 of I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. First, we're going to go through just my basic tone and setup. Again, I'm using the Fractal Audio Systems Axe-Fx Ultra for everything, for effects, amp modeling, the whole 9 yards. Okay, let's first start with the clean tone. As many songs that Edge plays, we're in second position, bridge and middle quack position. I've got the tone all the way up on my guitar, and I adjust my EQ and everything on my Axe-Fx. Here's a D chord. It's a G. Nice and clean. We've got the capo, as we mentioned, on the 2nd fret. I'm tuned in E flat. Of course, if you're tuned in E, then you want the capo on the 1st fret. And by having the capo on the 2nd fret tuned in E flat, it's a little easier to play because you don't have to stretch your hand so much. This is very much a right hand song to me, getting the timing right with the delay. The notes up here are not very difficult. It's very straightforward. There's a lot of repeating the same riff over and over. It's just getting the feel right. However, it does take a little to get used to on the stretch. So if you tune your guitar in E and put the capo on the 1st fret, you're going to have to move up a half here, 1 fret, and then it's going to be just a little bit harder to stretch. So once you get the stretch down and the hand position here right with the left hand, a lot of the song is going to come together. Then it's just a matter of working through the notes with the right hand. There were a number of sightings of Edge's delay settings on his TC-2290 delay back on the Vertigo tour. This is definitely a dotted 8th note song. So dotted 8th note delay sounds like, dotted 8th note sounds like this. And I'm at 101 BPM. And 101 BPM, as we've reviewed on the bad tutorial, let's round down to 100 for simplicity. So you've got 1,000 milliseconds in every second. You've got 60 seconds, obviously, in a minute. So you've got 60,000 milliseconds in a minute. BPM is beats per minute. A beat is we're in 4/4 time here. A beat is a quarter note. So you have 100, I'm rounding down for the moment, beats per minute, or 100 quarter notes per minute. So a dotted 8th note, a quarter note delay would be you have 60,000 milliseconds in the minute. You've also have 100 beats a minute, so you have 600 milliseconds per beat or per quarter note. So if you set your delay to a quarter note delay at 100 BPM, that delay is going to go off every 600 milliseconds. This is not a quarter note delay song. This is a dotted 8th note delay song. Well, an 8th note, not a dotted 8th, but an 8th note is twice as fast as a quarter note. 2 8th notes equal a quarter note. So an 8th note is 300 milliseconds. A dotted 8th is between an 8th note and a quarter note. It would be 450 milliseconds. So if you set your delay for about 450 milliseconds, that is the approximate setting that you need for I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For at the tempo of about 100. So I'm playing at 101 because that's what the backtrack was done at. 101 implies a delay setting of 446 milliseconds. So that's this dotted 8th note delay. So 446 is slightly lower than 450 because we're playing at a slightly faster tempo, 101 versus 100. So that is the first delay. In the sightings for Vertigo, Edge had a 2nd delay. That 2nd delay, I'm going to turn it on, turn the other one off, is a slapback delay. And Edge's sightings had it in the 150-ish range, 153, I forget exactly. I'm using 149. Now 149 milliseconds is is tied here to a 16th note. It's a very fast delay. But it's also, the volume of that delay is way down. It's very subtle. It's called a slapback. When you see musicians using a very fast delay of 100 to 200 milliseconds, it's often called a slapback delay, and it's a very subtle delay. It's not meant to, it's just meant to provide some texture to the riff. It's not meant to do what the dotted eighth note is doing here in this song. So here's what the little 16th note delay sounds like. I'm going to scratch so you can hear it. It's one repeat. You can add a couple more repeats if you like. Play a note. It's almost a slight echo. It's almost like a bounce. Now, I'm going to turn up the volume of this so you can hear it better, but this is not how I have it mixed in. Let me just turn the volume up of that delay. There it is. You don't want it that loud. You mix it in however you feel appropriate. If you like a little more bounce, then certainly mix it in a little bit more. I like it pretty subtle, so I mix it in. My volume on this is in the teens, 13, 14, 15%. Okay, so that second delay, there it is. You put those together. Now, the reason I'm scratching is because it's really easy to hear the delays. Put those together, you get this. You hear it went da 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 da. You play a note. You don't hear the slapback quite as much, and perhaps I don't have it loud enough, but you can play with that slapback as much as you want. But there's definitely been a lot of sightings on Edge's old tours, the Milan and the Chicago, the Vertigo tour basically, where he had two delays, and one was a very subtle slapback delay. Now I have that slapback delay in parallel. They're not in series. You can put them in series if you don't have the ability to put them in parallel. It will work just as well. You might get just a little extra bounce in there, because then when one delay is going into another, it's going to repeat. It's going to have a delay on the delay signal. Here I have them in parallel, so it's only going to do, the second delay is going to do the delay just once, the one repeat, and you get just a slightly different effect. But again, it's not a big deal whether you're doing this in parallel, or in series. I feel that a lot of these type of delays Edge uses are in parallel, but I don't have any evidence of that. So there we go. Those are the two delays. And in the basic riff, which we're going to go through in a moment, you get this. And then with the delay. So there are the basics of my setup. When we move to the bridge, we're going to change one of the delays. That slapback delay is going to become a longer delay and a louder delay to complement the dotted eighth note delay. But I'll go through that setting when we get to going through the bridge. So let's move now to the notes of the first part of the verse, which I'll call the verse. There'll be a verse, a chorus, and a bridge. Let's go through every single note of the verse.